Oh yeah, the last Outpost. If you have heard my previous 2 reviews, I said that I don't like the 2 episodes after the pilot because I forgot about the last Outpost. I should have said 3 because wow, this is so terrible. If you are the kind of person who defends Star Trek Discovery with the whataboutisms of, Star Trek has always blah 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 blah. Yeah, in case of this episode, you're right. Because this episode is total Star Trek Discovery. Everybody just randomly goes into fucking random unrelated conversations in the middle of tense situations. Everybody just randomly does random stuff in the middle of tense situations. Like in the beginning of the episode, like they're chasing the Ferengi who they don't know if they're dangerous or not, and out of nowhere they go like on the bridge into conversations like, oh, this is not like Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue, and then Picard is like, oh, the French red, white, and blue is much better than the American red, white, and blue. And you're fucking chasing an enemy starship, and you're probably going to the battle, and you're debating flags and nationalities from like 400 years ago. What the fuck is wrong with you? And there's also that issue of I don't know whatever the fuck they were thinking with Geordi in season 1. I don't know what the writers were thinking. I don't know what LeVar Burton was thinking. Like LeVar Burton was like going total Eddie Murphy cool black guy, and I guess it was I guess he just had to get used to having a fucking annoying thing on his eyes and playing half blind. Like, his character was blind, but, the actor had that annoying thing on his face. I don't know how well he was seeing with that annoying thing on his face. That probably annoyed the fuck out of LeVar Burton. So I can understand why he didn't really pay much attention to making his acting the best acting possible. Geordi is a fan favorite, but in season 1, the fuck was he doing? Anyway, it's like how fucking unprofessional everybody is acting. Like that conversation about, Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue, and Captain Picard going on about how much better France is, and Worf always going about, we should fight, like totally ridiculous. And there's that scene, they examine the planet, and they discover it originally belonged to the Tekon Empire, and just fucking randomly Data is playing with a Chinese finger trap while he's briefing Captain Picard. We're on a semi-military ship, and the second officer, while briefing the captain, is just randomly playing around like a fucking dickhead. The fuck? Yeah, and again, Geordi is just randomly snapping at superior officers for no reason. They're on the planet, and Geordi gets beamed upside down for reasons. Because reasons. Whatever. This episode fucking sucks. And Riker asks him, Geordi, are you alright? Geordi is like, yeah, I'm totally alright, Riker. I'm upside down. Fuck you, Riker. It's just fucking unprofessional as fuck. It's like watching Star Trek Discovery. It's really like watching Star Trek Discovery. I don't know whatever the fuck the writer of this episode was thinking. It's as far as the professionality of the crew is concerned, it's the worst Next Generation episode ever. I'm not kidding. If you don't believe me, watch it. Everybody's just randomly snapping at each other, making random comments in the middle of tense situations. It's just ludicrous. Nobody on the flagship of the Federation would behave the way that characters in this episode behave. It's ludicrous. It's unbelievable. Like, as I said in previous reviews, I'm not one of the people who go overboard and say season 1 of TNG is unwatchable. But this episode definitely is. It's horrible. It's absolutely excruciating to watch this crap. It's so freaking terrible. It's god awful. And you know, I haven't even gotten to the Ferengi yet. That Armin Shimmerman even apologized for his appearance in this episode and how he portrayed the Ferengi. And of course, they were directed to act like crazed gerbils. I've read that today. I had the need to read about it on Memory Alpha, and the directing instruction for the Ferengi was to jump around like crazed gerbils. And if you haven't seen this episode ever, or haven't seen it in a long time, yeah, that's literally what they do. They the acting of the Ferengi is so ridiculous. Like seriously, the way they talk, the way they jump around. Is we are the Ferengi. We are constantly moving. We talk totally weirdly and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I'm trying to exaggerate on my video, but all my exaggerations are less exaggerated than the actual episode. Watch the episode. In the episodes, it's much more ridiculous than my attempts to make a ridiculous impression of it. There is no way it would be possible for any YouTube reviewer to imitate how ridiculous the actual thing is. It's so ridiculous how they just jump around, flail their arms all the time, make the stupidest fucking voices. Oh, it is so terrible. So, the redeeming part of this episode is nothing, but at least we got the Ticon guy who looks like a blatant copy of, well, a mixture of several doctors from Doctor Who. It's kind of a bit of Tom Baker and a bit of William Hartnell, and I don't know, he just looks like a blatant Doctor Who tribute. And they randomly reference Sun Tzu, which doesn't actually make any sense in context, but luckily this episode is so badly written. There isn't any context. So it's just randomly thrown there that they randomly talk about Sun Tzu, which for some reason makes Doctor Who like Commander Riker. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. The plot of this episode makes zero sense. It's exhausting to think about how little sense the actual plot of this episode makes. The reason, like both the Enterprise and the Ferengi are caught by the Tikhon Empire planet's energy field, and that they talk to the Tikhon Empire guy, and the Ferengi want to make a bargain to release them, acting like crazed gerbils, like their acting instructions. But the Tikhon Empire Doctor Who clone, he really likes Riker because Riker randomly thinks of Sun Tzu for reasons. I guess because randomly earlier in the middle of the situation, Data talked about Uncle Sam and Picard talked about the French flag and said shit in French, and Geordi jumped around trying to be Eddie Murphy. And yeah, one thing that bothers me about Geordi is like this, they had this idea about the junior officers, which actually makes sense. I think they do it that way in NASA. I'm not entirely sure that Geordi in this episode is the helmsman, the chief engineer, and he's on the away team. That junior officers go through all the departments. Like, they've been doing that on Star Trek ever since. Not exactly with lieutenants, which doesn't make any sense, but they did it with ensigns at least, that, you know, you do this or this or this. That kind of makes sense, that the junior officers get into all the different stuff to see what they're best at. But in this episode, of course, when Geordi is in engineering, he's suddenly the chief engineer, because the chief of engineering, which was this wasn't the guy who later dies in Lonely Among Us. It was a woman. I forgot who she was, and I forgot why she isn't the person who dies in Lonely Among Us later, and not Argyle, you know, the guy with the 3-day beard, who actually had a fan club back in the day. And I don't... You know, last time I watched TNG season 1 was like 20 years ago. I don't remember why he was called Argyle or what kind of beard he has. He definitely made an impression. Why the fuck do I remember his name after like 20 years? Or his beard? Damn. That guy really made an impression. No wonder he had a fan club, I guess. So yeah. No, that was that woman, that middle-aged woman who was chief engineer at some point. But in this episode and the last Outpost, Geordi was just randomly chief engineer as a lieutenant who is also a helmsman and on the away team. It doesn't make any sense. The idea that junior officers would try around, that makes sense. But that Geordi is randomly just in charge of engineering, that doesn't make sense, because, you know, trying around is one thing, being in charge of an entire department while trying around, that doesn't make any sense. I I don't know what the writers were thinking, but that's the theme of this episode. I don't know what the writers were thinking writing this. Because, you know, it's so bad. I gave multiple reasons for why it's so bad. And I still don't feel I do any justice for it being so bad. I don't think I can properly describe how bad it is. It's so terrible, so terrible. So, on your path through TNG Season 1, another episode to skip. It's not worth seeing unless you want to torture yourself. Or unless you're a big fan of Star Trek Discovery and want to see the Next Generation cast playing Star Trek Discovery, everybody being totally unprofessional and not taking the chain of command or, you know, professional conduct on the bridge seriously, and everybody just being completely random jackasses, snapping at each other, having random conversations in the middle of serious situations. Like, if you're a Star Trek Discovery fan, this is going to be your favorite Next Generation episode, but for any actual Star Trek fan, this is just fucking unbearable. This is just Star Trek Discovery with the TNG cast. It's unwatchable.